This is the story of the vain king of Luminara, King Aldemar, who ruled with an iron fist not over laws or justice, but over beauty and appearance. He was a man consumed by vanity, obsessed with maintaining his youthful looks and ensuring that everyone in his realm adored him. His castle was filled with mirrors of every shape and size, and he spent hours each day admiring himself, adjusting his golden crown and smoothing his velvet robes. He demanded that his subjects praise him daily, calling him the eternal sun and the ageless sovereign. Those who failed to comply or worse, dared to insult him, were swiftly banished from the kingdom. Fear gripped the land, and the people learned to flatter him, even as they whispered their true thoughts in secret. But beneath the surface of Luminara, unrest simmered. The kingdom, once prosperous, was crumbling under the weight of the king's vanity. Taxes were raised to fund his endless quest for beauty, exotic oils, rare perfumes, and magical elixirs promised to preserve his youth. Meanwhile, the people struggled to feed their families, and artists, scholars, and craftsmen were ignored unless their work glorified the king. The humble artist. In a small village on the outskirts of the kingdom lived a young artist named Alara. She was known for her skill with a brush, but her work went unnoticed by the king and his court. Alara painted not for fame or wealth, but to capture the truth of the world around her, the beauty of nature, the resilience of the people, and the quiet dignity of everyday life. She lived simply, sharing her art with her neighbors and finding joy in their smiles. One day, while painting in the village square, Alara overheard a group of children laughing at a crude drawing of the king. The drawing exaggerated his wrinkles, his thinning hair, and the heavy makeup he wore to hide his age. The children were quickly scolded by their parents, who feared the king's wrath, but the moment stayed with Alara. She realized that no one had ever dared to show the king, as he truly was a man, aging under the weight of his own vanity. Inspired, Alara decided to create a portrait of the king, unlike any other. She would paint him not as the eternal sun, but as a mortal man, flawed and human. She worked in secret, using her skills to capture every detail, the lines on his face, the weariness in his eyes, and the emptiness behind his forced smile. The painting was both beautiful and haunting, a masterpiece that revealed the truth behind the king's carefully crafted facade. The painting that shook the kingdom. When the painting was complete, Alara knew she could never present it to the king herself. Instead, she entrusted it to a traveling merchant who promised to deliver it to the castle anonymously. The merchant, moved by the painting's honesty, decided to share it with others along the way. He showed it to villagers, farmers, and even a group of rebellious scholars who had long despised the king's tyranny. Word of the painting spread like wildfire. Copies were made and distributed throughout the kingdom, each one carrying the same powerful message. The king was not a god, but a man whose vanity had blinded him to the suffering of his people. The painting became a symbol of resistance, and for the first time, the people of Luminara felt a glimmer of hope. When the painting finally reached the castle, the king was furious. He ordered his guards to find the artist and destroy every copy of the painting. But it was too late. The image had already reached every corner of the kingdom, and the people could no longer be silenced. The king's humiliation and redemption. Humiliated and enraged, King Aldemar retreated to his chambers, where he stared at his reflection in one of his many mirrors. For the first time, he saw himself not as the eternal sun, but as the man in the painting, a man who had sacrificed his kingdom's well-being for the sake of his own pride. The weight of his actions crashed down on him, and he fell to his knees, overcome with guilt. Determined to make amends, the king emerged from his chambers and addressed his people. He admitted his faults, apologized for his vanity, and vowed to rule with humility and compassion. He lifted the ban on free speech, reduced taxes, and invested in the kingdom's infrastructure, ensuring that everyone had access to food, shelter, and education. As for Alara, she was invited to the castle, not as a prisoner, but as an honored guest. The king praised her courage and talent, and she became the kingdom's official artist, tasked with capturing the true spirit of Luminara. Her paintings, once ignored, now hung in the castle halls, reminding the king and his people of the importance of honesty, humility, and the beauty of imperfection. The legacy of the painting. Years later, the painting that had once humiliated the king became a cherished symbol of Luminara's transformation. It was displayed in the royal gallery, not as a reminder of the king's vanity, but as a testament to his growth and the power of art to inspire change. The kingdom flourished under his new rule, and the people no longer lived in fear. They spoke freely, laughed openly, and celebrated the beauty of their shared humanity. And so, the vain king became a wise and beloved ruler, and the humble artist became a legend. Together, they proved that true worth lies not in appearance, but in the courage to face the truth and the willingness to change.